Pendo from the Department of Social Work and Social Administration, Makerere University in Uganda. You are most welcome, those of you who are coming to Uganda for the first time. Makerere University is the largest university in Uganda. It's also the oldest, with about 35,000 in total number of students at undergraduate level, and approximately 3,000 students doing graduate programs, masters and PhDs. So this is a large university. We, as social work department, are part of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, which is also the biggest college with over 10,000 students. We are part of a big family of social work, but also part of the larger family of social sciences as a school. Within social work department, we have two major strands. We have social work, the professional social work, as you all know it, but we also provide leadership in teaching social sciences, handling a major in social administration. So we call our department the Department of Social Work and Social Administration. In social work, we are about 25 staff, 18 established staff at PhD level, 7 with master's degrees, but also 4 of them are doing their PhDs at the moment. Then we have a few non-teaching staff. Overall, the university has about 9 colleges and 1 school, the School of Law, and quite a number of other constituent colleges, both in Kampala, but also outside of Kampala.
Thank you. I'm not head of Department of Sociology and Social Work, but I'm Dean, Faculty of Arts of the University of Nairobi. The university is one of the largest in sub-Saharan Africa, with a student population of 63,000. We have 6 colleges, and the College of Humanities and Social Sciences is one of these big colleges. In fact, it is the largest. The College of Humanities and Social Sciences has School of Economics, Faculty of Arts, School of Business, School of Law, and a number of institutes. In total, the college has about 500 faculty members, academic. And the Faculty of Arts alone has a student population of nearly 9,650, with a faculty of 200 full-time teaching staff and 50 non-teaching staff. Although I happen to be dean, I'm also from the Department of Sociology and Social Work, and the department has a faculty of 28 staff members. We are fairly old as a department, so we have programs in mainstream sociology. We have social work as a program, a sort of sub-department within the larger department. And then we also have criminology and criminal justice program, which is very close to social work. We also have community development studies program, which is very close, and we also have disaster management program. But also closely related to that, we also have Department of Psychology, which also offers psychology counseling, and other units that are very close to the ones that are offered in the Department of Sociology and Social Work.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Abu Mbungi from the Institute of Social Work in Dar es Salaam. This is an institute that started way back in 1973 Apart from social work, it also offers courses, programs in labor studies and human resource management. But the social work is the biggest department. It has about 1,170 students who are doing bachelor's degree, certificate, diploma, and postgraduate diploma in social work. This year, this academic year, which it starts in July, we have been allowed to start a master's in social work. So we'll be offering a master's in social work. The institute has about, the social work department has about 30 staff, of whom 2 PhDs, and 1 is on PhD, the rest are master's holders. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Charles Kalinganire from the National University of Rwanda, but that is shifting with other higher education institutions to one university currently called University of Rwanda. It has 6 colleges, including the College of Arts and Social Sciences, hosting the Department of Social Sciences, where we have social work. Social work is quite a new program. It was established since 1999 in the perspective of responding to the problems fueled by the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. We have around 17 staff, including 8 in social work, 4 hold a master's degree, another one is still following her master's in Sweden, and we have 2 who are doing their PhD. So in terms of recruitment, we have been running the program with visiting lecturers, but currently we have 5 years ago national permanent social workers, as I was telling you, who have a master's, and 3 others who are in PhDs. They are following the paid PhD. So we think just growing, because we still have a BA level, but with ambition to set up a master's degree, so that we'll need new qualified social workers. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vishanti Siupol. My university has quite an interesting history. For those of you from South Africa, you know that post-apartheid South Africa saw enormous transitions in higher education. So the University of KwaZulu-Natal is actually the result of a merger between 2 institutions, the former University of Natal, which was a historically white institution, and the former University of Durban-Westville, which was an ethnic Indian university. I started at the former University of Natal in 1991, and the University of Natal merged with the University of Durban-Westville in 2004. And even since then, there's been quite major changes as well with restructurings. And the last we restructured was in 2011, when social work became located in the College of Humanities in the School of Applied Human Sciences. In our school, we are together with psychology, criminology, and the Center for Communication and Media Studies. So it's actually a very good grouping of cognate disciplines. In social work, particularly, we have over 600 students registered for the Bachelor of Social Work degree, 43 for the Masters of Social Work, and we have currently registered 7 PhDs. In terms of staffing, we've got 13 staff members, 6 of whom have their PhDs, and apart from 2 who have actually begun work this month, the rest of them are registered for their PhDs at various levels of completion, and we expect some of them to complete by the end of this year. So yeah, we'll have more discussion on what we're all about.
Well, also one of our first topics to discuss that we'll hear about is just about recruitment. So often when we think about recruitment, it's the selection process and the hiring process, but actually a lot more goes into it in terms of the pipeline of students who are getting interested in academia and looking at academic careers. There are many issues that we'll be addressing, but first we're going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that various universities face in terms of the recruitment of faculty. And then we'll be looking later at some of the innovative approaches that some of the universities are taking to address those challenges. But I wonder who may want to just address briefly some of the recruitment challenges that your university faces.
Yeah, the recruitment challenges in DAR, or the Institute of Social Work. One is getting the right people, the qualified people, to come and teach. And the reasons are not having enough people with the required qualification to be academic members of staff. But secondly is the process of recruitment, which sometimes take unnecessarily long, because in Dar es Salaam what happens is we have, of course, the institute with the board, which has powers to hire and fire, but currently there's been another kind of arrangement. In the pursuit of reducing cost, the government has moved trying to control hiring and all that. So first, the process has become longer, but secondly, we don't get the requisite people in terms of qualification. Why? Because the people who sit to interview are actually sometimes, mostly, of course, we will have our own representation, but the whole process is controlled by a department, which is a government department outside the institute. So that is one story. When they are done, the names are brought, those who pass are brought to the institute now, where we have a board which also begins a process of validating the hiring. And you might find out that after a process which will take, say, 6 months, at the end of the day, the board says, no, all of these are not qualified. So they go back. So you remain with a shortage, a permanent kind of shortage of qualified staff at the institute. Currently, I would say we have a shortage of about 15 teaching staff at the institute in the Department of Social Work.
For Makerere University Department of Social Work, the story is not terribly different from that of DAR, but we mainly recruit from our own young first-class degree holders who are interested in teaching. So our first problem is to get those who are interested in teaching. We try as much as we can to encourage those who qualify to keep around, but of course they also look at other opportunities. Then we keep them around once they have accepted, encourage them to apply, and of course promise them to support them for graduate programs. And it's only in the recent past that we've actually succeeded in almost taking everyone to the next level through collaborations. But the challenge here is that overall teaching is not a very motivating profession in this country because of remuneration problems. The incentives are not very encouraging on average, a lecturer earns about $500 from government and another $500 from the local generated funds within the university. So it's not a very attractive job. But of course we are there and we don't leave because we also enjoy the non-monetary incentives. Being a professor is not a small thing. Possibly that's what keeps us around. But also the other challenge is that we always have a ban, almost a ban on recruitment, because government cannot afford to expand the human resource indefinitely. So we make our case to government, but at some point government says, please do not recruit more, irrespective of the challenge of the increasing numbers of students that we are given to support, to teach, to supervise, and so on and so forth. So there are limited opportunities out there that we have to work within in order for us to be able to sustain the team around. So in terms of recruitment too, our biggest challenge is that we cannot recruit at a higher level. We cannot recruit PhD holders. It's not, as I said, there are not many in this country, people with PhDs. I think this year we were only lucky to get about one. So we have to recruit young people with first degrees, take them through, mentor them, get their masters, motivate them to stay, and then move them to PhD level and motivate them to stay again with collaborations with other partners, joint sponsorships, scholarships, and other research projects. But outside of that, it is quite a big challenge for the university to keep staff. As I talk now, I think I'm one of the oldest members of staff in the Department of Social Work. In other places, they have a problem of having quite a number of professors and a few young people coming in. For us, we have a problem of having no senior members beyond 50 years of age. We have one associate professor, we have no professor, and the rest of us are senior lecturer, lecturer level, and assistant lecturer level. So it's quite a challenge.
I would just say one or two things with regard to recruitment. We are an old department, but the problem is that we have not started our masters in social work. We had worked on it, and it was almost at the final stages, but we didn't put it on board. But we're hoping to do so soon. So when we are looking out for staff, we may not get the right people in the right numbers. But what we do is very much similar to what Makerere does.
Okay, thank you. Well, we don't quite have a problem of retention, but not for good reasons. The reason we don't have that problem is, one, the social work profession outside the institute is not so robust in terms of attracting qualified persons. But secondly, the other areas where social workers could be employed, there's the public sector government. Apparently in Tanzania, the academics are paid a bit better. Legally, the legal kind of salary is better in the academic arena than in the other public sectors. Of course, illegally there could be other many ways of them getting more, but we're going for legal. But the other thing is that we also try and retain through offering further studies. But now the problem with this is that further studies also depend on funding. We depend on the government, and the only time we can get an income outside that is through members' consultancies who are supposed to contribute something to the institute. So we also have programs like short courses, evening programs, whereby members of staff can gain some kind of income. But the most serious threat that we have today is, until quite recently, we were the only institute which offered the social work profession. But since about 3 years ago, we have quite a number of institutes and universities that have started offering social work. So the fear is our safe haven might be intruded upon, and we might be facing a serious problem of retaining our members of staff. Thanks.
Okay, at University of Rwanda, as I was telling you, after 15 years of operation, our young staff is very, very dedicated to build the social work profession. And in addition to this, they want to build their career so that they have to continue their studies. So during this couple of time, they are retained. Another thing is that as you are growing, the profession is becoming cherished by different authorities. So if we lobby more, I think we'll be gaining more opportunity. Lastly, we have set up a Center for Social Work Education and Practice, through which we are promoting international cooperation. So we are competing for grant awards, and we won twice. So this helps us. For instance, if we have attended this conference, it's due to what we have got as a grant, and consultancies also. So we hope, as we love our profession, and as we have young staff, we'll be growing, and as you are here, all of you, you'll be helping by uniting efforts. Thank you.
Hi, I think we know that leadership in institutions play a very, very big role, and leadership in institutions such as the university exists at various levels. On a sort of macro level at our institution, we've had quite high turnover of staff, and I think we lost some of our most productive researchers and teachers, and some who are like nationally and internationally very well known. And that came more as the institution adopted far more of the neoliberal policies, and as education became more and more seen to be as commodity, rather than valuing freedom of expression and freedom of thought. And some of those people that we lost were threatened with disciplinary action and so on. And they felt, well, if we're going to live within this kind of culture, we can't deal with it. In social work itself, we've had fairly good retention. But over the past 4 years or so, we had 3 members of staff take early retirement. They didn't resign, but they took early retirement. And they took the retirement for similar sort of reasons. They couldn't deal with what they said, the increased bureaucracy, the increased administration as universities sort of downsize, and academics have to take on far more of the administrative load. So that's, I think, quite a challenge, and we keep trying to tell our institution, we are a university located in Africa. We have the vision of being a premier university of African scholarship, and we certainly should not be trying to compete with the Cambridges and the Harvards, but I think that's what institutions in Africa are doing, and I think we're losing the plot in the process. With regard to social work retention, and I think we've been fairly successful there. One of the things that we adopt this philosophy about growing your own timber. So 6 of our current staff members are our not so past graduates. Tanusha Raniga, Dr. Raniga was here, and she's doing the recruitment drive for us were there, was my student, and I tease her that she's now my boss. But I think that's important. Ever so often when people are in leadership positions, they don't want to give up the power. It's important to have younger people and to provide the mentorship while we're there so that there is continuity. We're not going to be in those positions forever. What keeps staff at UKZN? We are an urban-based university. We do have generally a good reputation. We have good induction programs, tremendous opportunities for staff development. In fact, I think too much sometimes in terms of facilities available for workshops and seminars and staff development. Because of the university push towards having everyone have PhDs so that we can compete better on world rankings, university has also made available what is called strategic funding that offers young people who are doing PhDs teaching relief. I think for me, one of the most important reasons that I remain in academia is that it's a space where I still believe that I have freedom of expression. It's really one of the key things that keeps me in academia. I can research, I can write, I can think quite freely. Of course, if I take my Vice Chancellor to the media, then I'm in trouble, and I have been in trouble. And we talk about it amongst our staff. We have leaderships at different levels. We know that most institutions are experiencing this new managerial split, neoliberal thrust that can be very demoralizing for us as staff on the ground. And as staff within the discipline of social work, we often talk about it. We cannot expect the people up there to really take care of us on a micro level, on an emotional level, that we help to care for each other. And that spirit of togetherness, of teamwork, and caring for each other, I think goes a long way in helping with retaining staff. I think we underestimate sometimes the power of that. I'm happy to go to work in the morning, despite what's happening at the macro level of the institution, because I have wonderful colleagues that I work with. And another thing, and we don't usually talk about this, but during some of my most demoralizing, difficult times through university, and I've been teaching for a long time, one of the things that actually kept me going was my collaboration and networks with colleagues internationally. You know, when things seem sort of mundane down here, at least we have lots of other connections at different levels that give us job satisfaction. That for me is important.
I'm sure the delegates now seated here can be able to see through and also feel through the scenarios that our academic institutions are actually experiencing, and probably which have an end or which come again to contribute towards the type of social work education that we give in our respective institutions. Now, this therefore brings us to this discussion so that we can actually ask ourselves, what exactly is the way forward? We want to share. These are representatives of different institutions of higher learning. What exactly is it that we probably need to do so that the social work education that we are teaching within the region and beyond can actually be up to the international mark, so to say. In this regard, what kind of approaches can you share that you are taking as institutions to ensure that the staff are captivated, the staff are motivated to remain as academic members of staff to continue facilitating or giving the core duties that they are employed for? Could you please share a little bit on that?
Thank you. For social work department at Makerere University, I think one of our strengths has been working on teams in collaborations with other universities and other research and policy institutions to jointly work together, earn an extra dollar in the process, and we take it as part of our community outreach component of university. Because for us, we say we exist for three things: one, teaching; two, research; and third one is community outreach. So in the process of contributing to the community outreach, the policy dialogues, the strategic planning processes in quite a number of organizations, the research agendas in quite a number of other agencies, we are able to retain our staff. And we have quite a number of running programs. Every year, every semester, at least there's one or two programs that are running where colleagues team up with other partners outside, and they're able to keep the candle burning. That's one way that we are doing it. Of course, it doesn't benefit everyone, because it means that we have to keep this, we have to sustain this process, and it's not very easy to sustain these processes. But how I wish we could engage a little more in research and policy that builds into the teaching. Because in the absence of this, then what happens is that quite a number of us engage in consultancies as they are. And that may not be quite helpful for the institution. But the second one has been our efforts to develop short, tailored courses that are marketable. For example, we have one that is running currently on child protection, where we've been able to attract quite a number of practitioners coming to the university again for a few weeks. We engage them, teach, and work with them to enhance their skills in child protection issues. Some of them are the community-based social workers. Some of them are working with the government in the probation and welfare department and so on, in the NGO sector. And that has also been quite something that helps the university staff to remain engaged meaningfully. And we are looking forward to those kind of engagements, develop courses in research, develop courses in other interesting and marketable areas, and that way that will add us an extra $1 to supplement what the government is giving us. Those are the two major areas, and we think that if we can sustain this, if we can have more collaborations with academic institutions, with the research institutions, with other universities, with the NGOs, this is the way to go. Thank you.
At the University of Nairobi, I think our main challenge is to develop the postgraduate program at the master's and also at the PhD level. We already have, I may have failed to mention, we already have a master's in community development, which has attracted a large number of students since some 10 to 15 years back. And those students, some of them are from our undergraduate social work, others are from sociology background or psychology background, but some come even from agriculture, some from forestry to join that program. So if we can, on top of the community development studies program that we have, we also build the social work program. I think that would be one of the best ways forward. We are also thinking of starting a school which would encompass sociology and social work. And within it, you would have the social work program, you would have the criminology and criminal justice, which we also teach in the department. We also teach disaster management and also community development studies. If we can push that idea so that we get out of the bigger faculty and probably also explore possibility of collaborating or even bringing to the school the Department of Psychology, then that would be one of the best ways forward. Then also the idea of part-time lecturers, so that we don't lose out our graduate, our students who have promise. Once they finish their masters and there is opportunity, we make sure we engage them. And if that is continued, I think it could help us to eventually not lose our staff.
Thank you. My colleagues have mentioned things which actually apply also to Dar es Salaam. So I'll mention those which have not been mentioned yet. One in Dar es Salaam, what we're doing to redress the situation is through training. As I told you, we have only 2 members of staff who are PhDs. So our priority currently is to try and train as many as possible of our faculty to the level of PhD. When you do that, you actually improve on the profile institute, and you see when you apply for consultancy, it is your CV or your profile at the institute that is looked at, and mostly they look at the qualification of the members of staff. So we think through training, most staff at the level of PhD will have a competitive edge in the market of consultants. And indeed, as I told you, we were the only institute doing offering social work until recently. So by doing further training, we'll actually get further ahead of the rest of those who are just starting social work. The second, which I mentioned earlier, is the Master of Social Work. We just started that, and we think that that will actually elevate our status and also our recognition in the country. We also have embarked on what is in Tanzania is very famous today, and it's actually the model of life, PPP. It's private-public partnership, whereby as a public institute we partner with the private sector, and especially these organizations which deal with funding, like parastatal pension schemes, like banks. We've learned which is very prime in Dar es Salaam, and this is the chip with which we're trying to work with the private-public partnership, so that we get their funding, we build up something, and then we operate, and then we own the property. The good thing with this is that if you improve the teaching environment, and you have well-trained members of staff, and you can win consultancies, you will create more funds, and by creating more funds, you can actually incentivize your own staff. The good thing with the government is saying, I'll provide the salaries, But to talk about incentives, you deal with it on your own way. So if you create your own funds, actually the government does not come to take the funds from the institute, but doesn't provide more than salaries.
Okay, in Rwanda, we are very ambitious but careful. We are thinking of strengthening social work by lobbying internally our bosses, so that we build the uniqueness of social work. If we become independent, not being in social sciences in general, we think that we'll be moving very well. Secondly, we want just to set up an internal consortium. I have told you that there are 2 other private schools of social work. If we put together our effort, we'll be just defending the uniqueness of social work. Third, we wanted to strengthen the cooperation, networking, as I was telling you. We have been working with external universities. I mentioned here especially Tulane University in USA, Gothenburg in Sweden, and York University in Canada. So that we have been conducting joint researches and competing for grants, but mostly benefiting from technical expertise. So we think like that we can continue to get mentors in social work, because from these universities there are volunteers who are coming and continuing to help us. Lastly, we want just to continue to build on youth and in such a way just to strengthen the love of the profession. And at the end of the day, if we love our profession, we'll be making our money without just wanting to gather money, but gather just the competence and the love from our clients and anybody else. Thank you.
Hi, I think part of the joy about being in academia is that it remains in a dynamic state of fluidity. Antoinette Lombardi is here, she knows that, and we're currently rewriting national standards for social work education and training. We've recently gone through quite a huge national review process, which was quite eye-opening, especially if you sat on the national review team and had a bird's eye view of what's happening nationally in the country. South Africa, I think, they always say what we're the New York of Africa. I'm not too sure about that, having hearing other people here. But I think as far as academia is concerned, we have achieved quite a bit. But I think the threat to that is that sometimes we can become too sort of constrained in our sort of comfort zones, and we don't see beyond the horizons. To remain in academia, for me, I think what's important is for those of our days to remain involved, engage constructively in dialogue with various issues at different levels of the institution, and more particularly with issues pertaining to our profession. We really need to believe in what we do. I do believe, like Paulo Freire says, that education is an act of love and an act of courage, and we should never, ever sort of deny discourse on any particular issue, no matter how threatening it is. I do believe that we teach who we are. We can't do anything differently. We need to be constructively engaged, and we need to confront constructively at times, and I think sometimes when necessary to engage in non-violent resistance. And I think increasingly with what universities are becoming with regard to neoliberal pushes and things like that, there's a need for that. Because I keep reminding my dean, for those of you who are deans here, I may be a pain in the neck, but I do remind my dean ever so often because he's a wonderful human being and we really share the same worldviews, but there's a lot of institutional pressures on him, and I remind him that there is such a thing as a crime of compliance. So if we can create spaces for resistance, but in constructive ways, we help ourselves and we help the institution and our students as well. We have enormous power of influence as educators. And again, it is something for me that keeps me in academia. Just understanding the thousands of young people that go through our hands and the power that we have to challenge their thinking and to help them to reframe epistemologies. And sometimes we don't realize how much of an impact we can and we do make. And I just want to give you one example with regard to resistance. And this is because it's so fresh in my mind. Last week we had hit the headlines, front page newspaper headlines, because the university was wanting to take disciplinary action against 4 students who wrote an open letter. And the primary concern of those students was that the university had the cut-off date for registration as the 21st of February 2014. And many students could not afford paying the registration fee within the due date. As staff, we sat in a school board meeting and we discussed it. And we ourselves could not comprehend this. Because why not wait till the end of the month when families get paid? So at least it will enable some students to register and remain at university this year. So those was, and of course, but what was good is that as a staff we decided to start a scheme where we have kind of savings staff contribute, and at least next year we'd be able to help some students with their fees. But these 4 students were brave enough to take it up as an issue. They did try to internally discuss the matter for the postponement of the cut-off date for the registration, got no joy, and then took it to the media, particularly around that issue. But in doing so, they also critiqued the leadership of the institution, and then they were threatened with disciplinary action. I wrote to other staff and asked, do we allow these 4 students to hang individually and take the rap, or do we as a staff act as a collective and support the students? But what was the great thing is that called the Social Work Student Association, filled them in, many of them knew about it, quite well themselves and the issue. We wrote out a petition, and the entire social work student body supported these 4 students. I think the outcry from the media, from the Right to Know campaign, the Freedom of Expression campaign, supporting these 4 students, and the internal support of those students helped in a big way. When the students went on Tuesday, the decision was not disciplinary action, but going through a process of mediation. We don't know yet what the outcome would be, but I do believe that with collective action, these 4 students will be helped.
Thank you, Vishanti, for wrapping up this part of the discussion on an inspirational note and reminding us that social work is a profession of social activism and social action. And that's not limited just to practitioners, but applies to faculty as well. So thank you for that reminder and that good example. At this point, we do want to hear from you. And this is a time for you to provide information about some of these issues and how they affect you at your university, or to ask questions of the various presenters and panelists that we have.
Thank you. My name is Anzala Mnyamamo, and I'm from the University of Nairobi. Comments are allowed, maybe. Okay, thank you. First, I want to congratulate the discussion which we continue, which has happened here. It's very nice. I appreciate it. Let me maybe make an observation. I am proposing that maybe we can have a body all of West Africa. Maybe we can have a secretariat for the social work profession, where we can get maybe consultancy and information relay. Rousseau is one of it, but I want maybe a very specific one, maybe where we can converge, maybe people can come and seek some information and maybe give guidelines on the way forward about this Africa thing. Briefly, another thing, maybe I request the universities, like the deans, maybe you can make exchange programs like University of Nairobi, Makerere, they can have an exchange program for social work students maybe. Like I want to thank the University of Nairobi. Before we came here, we were from University of Uganda. That's the student of the University of Nairobi. That's a good thing they did to us. So I'm asking maybe for like the other universities, we can make an exchange program of students for social work so that people can network, get to know one another, and maybe interact. And I think that's my observation and maybe my comment and appeal to you. Thank you very much.
I'm Samuel from Zimbabwe. Mine is a comment. I think listening to what various institutions were taking us through, Prof. Support, it means your association has a lot of work to do. Because I think the kind of challenges being relayed here need to be tackled from that association perspective, just like a comment coming from a good friend here, that maybe we need to come up with a structure, a system that universities in Africa or Southern Africa or Eastern Africa, but most importantly, let's say in Africa as a bloc, can come together and try to strategize how best we can move forward. Thank you.
I think both Jacqueline and the young man, your questions are very pertinent to USWA, and that's exactly the mandate of USWA. If you look at the objectives of USWA as per the Constitution, you will see it's precisely what you are talking about. It's to build capacity across Africa by mobilizing resources, by facilitating student and staff exchanges, and so on. In terms of the capacity building, I think I shared with you yesterday that one of our biggest challenges is funding and membership. We did write funding proposals to start postgraduate programs across 5 institutions in Africa, but unfortunately we don't have that funding. Well, not yet. I don't know whether it's going to come through. But clearly USWA cannot manage these things with just a few institutions belonging to it. The membership is absolutely critical and vital. If we are able to develop a broad-based membership, so that will help us determine what the needs are. There was a model followed by the University of Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. They did not have a social work program at all, and they started within the Department of Sociology, and they used resources from across the globe because they made their needs known. They had block teachings with very internationally known colleagues who went there, and they lived with families there and taught for a period of maybe 2 to 3 weeks and block teaching. And that's how they started off with a master's program, and the recruits from that master's program then began the Bachelor of Social Work. So now University of Addis Ababa has a Bachelor of Social Work program, a master's, and they've initiated a PhD as well. But really relying very much on the goodwill and the support of colleagues internationally. We can do that as well. But the need must come to us to be able to facilitate that. We can do that through USWA and through ISW.
My name is Jacqueline Mwekasenge from Burundi. I'm head of Department of Social Work and Community Development at Hope Africa University. My question, but let me first of all thank you, say a word of thanks for all organizers of this conference. We are benefiting a lot from this conference. My question is about, I wanted to ask you, how are you planning to help young universities like ours, because our department is only 10 years old, and we are trying to equip students at bachelor level, and last year we started a program, a master's program in community development, but we are facing a problem of having qualified lecturers, especially in social work. We are trying to recruit people who did sociology, who did counseling, who did community development, but we do not have social workers. Please, can you help us and let us know if we can have a support from you so that we can have qualified lecturers specialized in social work. Thank you.
I wonder if anyone else would like to address the question of partnerships, particularly how newer universities in countries like Burundi can be supported in the development of their programs.
I think it's possible for universities within the region and in Africa in general to have stronger collaborations. We may not have full sabbaticals because even within, for example, Makerere University, we are talking about 18 PhDs and 4 PhDs coming, but still we are also talking about capacity challenges because we want to expand. We are running a Bachelor of Social Work program, we are running a Master's in Social Sector Planning and Management program, we are running a PhD program and so on. But still, short-term collaborations, visits, exchanges are possible. I think this should be the way to go. We've been benefiting, for example, as social work department, benefiting in a collaboration with the social work, the School of Social Work, Gothenburg University in Sweden, and that has worked for us quite well. We exchange staff, we exchange students, short term, few weeks and so on, and we should be glad to extend this kind of support to other partner institutions. But that still requires a little bit of structured mechanisms for supporting this kind of process.
We also have exchanges with a number of universities. We have an exchange program with Kalamazoo University in the US. Our students go to Kalamazoo, a good number each year. They go there for almost 2 or 3 semesters, and their students also come to the University of Nairobi for equal period. We also have exchange program with some university in Japan, but this is for another department. Each department has their own collaborating institutions. For social work, I think Dr. Eric can add.
We have an existing exchange program with Volta University College in Norway. But basically what's been happening is that we send our students after we train them for 1 year, and then they go to complete their program in Norway. The challenge is once they've gone, their coming back is not necessarily to help the university because they come back have to finish the training. and they can either work in Norway or they go to work maybe in other places. So I cannot really say that we end up getting the direct benefit per se.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the fascinating presentations, the very interesting information coming out of the various institutions. I was just wondering, I'm just curious, to what extent the various institutions represented here recruit expatriates, and I mean expatriates in the true sense of any people that are not nationals. If you do recruit, what sort of contracts do they get? I'm just interested in finding out. Or are you just inward looking, or do you look outside?
Thank you. According to just the priorities set by the government, there is recruitment of experts, and they are considered as experts and they are paid accordingly. And the treatment is different from nationals, even if maybe you have the same qualification, but it depends upon the priorities in this field. Unfortunately, in social work, for us, it is not yet considered as a priority. But we think that we have to lobby and to demonstrate that this has to be considered a priority. Thank you.
Sorry, just when we heard all the exchanges here, that a very typical pattern with exchange programs tends to be North-South exchanges, you know, between the North and the South. And I think what the gentleman's talking about there is facilitating more regional South-to-South exchanges, which I think is a very, very valid point, because the kind of North-South exchanges that we have is very beneficial. We've also benefited a great deal from that in our school. But it really reinforces the dependency positions for those of us who are in the South. So we need to look to become more independent with South-South collaboration. With regard to employment of foreign nationals, we have a number of very well-qualified people who do apply for the positions that we advertise. But in South Africa, in terms of the Employment Labour Relations Act, the first priority must be, by law, given to nationals. You know that, Roderick. In fact, very often they're not even shortlisted, because we would have to, if we employed a foreign national, we would have to get permission from government to do that, and we will have to prove that it is a scarce resource and that we simply cannot access a person within the country. It must be a matter of real last resort. That's the legislation.
Can I say something just to help Jacqueline? An advice is to see how to be in connection with compatriots in diaspora. Absolutely, sometimes we will have some nationals who are outside and who have qualified in this discipline. We have been referring to this alternative at the beginning of our social work program, and it worked very well, because when they were coming, they were not charging extra salary, instead of maybe accommodation and just a little amount. Thank you.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I'm sorry we don't have time to take more questions, but I would like to give each of the panelists some time, a few moments, just to make any closing remarks or to wrap up the conversation.
Yeah, in terms of a closing remark, I just want to say much of what we're talking about here is alluded to or explicitly dealt with in the Global Standards for Social Work Education and Training. It's a document that you can access. It's published in 3 international journals. It's also on the websites of the ISW and the International Association of Schools of Social Work. We heard one of our colleagues talk about external intervention with recruitment and appointment of staff. And I think we have existing documents within our profession that we can use to lobby our institutions. Item 10 of the Global Standards for Social Work Education and Training deals with structure, administration, governance, and resources. So if you've not read it, and if you feel that you're being done down by, with your institution with regards to resources and so on, go and read the Global Standards, and many institutions have actually used it to lobby resources. 7.10 of that standards reads as, the school, meaning the social work program, plays a key role with regard to the recruitment, appointment, and promotion of staff. So you can take that to university authorities and tell them that the social work program needs to play an active role there. It also asks for our active role in decision-making processes and for us to be allowed to engage in participatory processes. So it's actually very, very, very specific.
Well, what I can say for a wrap-up is, of course, the issue about exchange. I'm sure we can have regional exchange, but due to some historical reasons, when we do cooperation, we think beyond Africa. I have an experience that I did a lot of travels to Europe, in America for exchange programs, but I've never been to the regions. So this is really something which you can do. Sometimes you have some bureaucratic constipation within the system. There is, for example, you have they simply, like the way we do it with the Norway, for example, you have students going from Dar es Salaam to Norway. When they get there, they get a waiver. And we can have students going from Norway here, and when they come here, they get a waiver. Now the problem becomes the waiver from this side. It's like there are a number of restrictions that forbid, but it's really something that is possible and is cheaper, I would say. On expatriates, of course, it's like what the professor said, the law does not allow and blah, blah. So what we rely upon is to solicit volunteers from our partners in Europe and America. So when they come, so if you do that within the region, the problem will be finance, because those in Europe, because of the strong organizational structure they have associations that can actually send a person, like the example of Ethiopia she mentioned. We also have some in Dar es Salaam. They come, they help with the curricular development, and they go back. So this is something really which you can do within the region. Thanks very much.
For the expatriates, I think the University of Nairobi has a clear policy. We don't employ them, but we have a clear policy on visiting professors. So we receive them, some coming through Fulbright and other avenues, and we support them minimally, but they are able to support themselves with their own resources. Social work, as we speak today in Kenya, is very, very necessary, because we have had two major developments. One is we've gone to counties. We have established counties from last year, 37 of them. And the work that is going on in the counties requires guidance and support of people that are trained in social work. Then we also have had another development of many universities being chartered. We used to have just a few, but today as we speak, we have almost 27 public universities that are chartered. We have also many, many colleges that have moved into social work training and community development training. All of these need to be supported. They could be supported through a standard curriculum, and that means that there needs to be an association, the type we are talking about, that can help develop that standard curriculum and enforce it. Then universities that are ahead, like ours, University of Nairobi. Yes, in terms of manpower, we are quite ahead. In terms of experience, if you talk in terms of even PhDs, we have very many. Even just the faculty of us alone, we are talking of more than 100 to 150 PhDs. One is talking about. We can support our brother universities like this one in Uganda. So, we have some leadership role. Some universities like ours have a leadership role to play, okay, to support our upcoming universities, colleges, and even those in the neighboring countries.
Thank you very much. For social work, Makerere, as a department, we have always been open to collaborations and partnerships, and as I've already indicated, we are running some of these programs. We have already demonstrated, for example, under the APIA program, that we can make very constructive collaborations with partners. We have collaborations with other universities and academic institutions, policy institutions, government, and so on. And we think that this is an opportunity that all of us need to exploit. So mine is to invite partners, to invite collaborations, to invite academic and social work institutions in Africa to engage with us so that we can synergize together. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to take this opportunity to say a big thanks to the panelists. They have given us a real exposition about the scenario and the situations that are existing within our respective countries in the East African region. So thank you so much. And thank you so much, delegates, for being with us. Let's give them a big round.